This is the MGTOW Infinium here with another Infinium Free Talk. This Infinium Free Talk is entitled The Pendulum of Womenism. My brothers, as MGTOWs, we all are aware of the pendulum of womenism, aka that damned if you do, damned if you don't conundrum that we face when dealing with women. On face value, the pendulum of womenism may seem like a phenomenon which can be simply defined as such. A. When the womanist pendulum is swung to the left position, this is where men do everything they can to please women, but even still, they are damned by women. B. When the womanist pendulum is swung to the right position, this is where men have walked away from women with no intentions of coming back, and accordingly, they are damned by women. My brothers, for some men, their position on the womanist pendulum, particularly when it is in the walkaway position, may come as an easy decision to make. But for many other men, coming to the walkaway state is the result of a complex series of decisions, events, and actions. In any case, there are two key negative ramifications for womanists when the pendulum is in the men walking away position. A. The pendulum becomes stuck in such a way that it becomes nearly impossible for womanists to get it to swing back to the left position. B. The loss is not only men, it is what they possess, anything from resources to talent. My brothers, I would like to detail a work experience which I had, which will give you some insight as to why I am now a MGTOW. A few years ago, I was working in the retail sector, and I was working for a major department store chain, which had everything from groceries to clothing, all types of items. Anything and everything you could purchase in this particular store that I was working at. And I had the ability to work in most of the areas of the store. I could work in the back room all the way to the registers. I could do various types of tasks in the store. And one of the tasks I liked to do was to work in the grocery section of the store. But again, I worked all over the store. I did all types of tasks. I did anything from setting up plano things to doing pricing, doing scanning of the store for what they call outs. And outs are basically anything that's out of stock, that type of thing. I would do those types of tasks. And again, I enjoyed working in the back room, in the floor, mainly at night, mainly off hours because of the women and all of that. But that's here and there. But again, one of the areas I like to work in was the grocery area. Now, if anybody is familiar with the grocery sector, it's not easy. It's something that you really have to be into, and it's not something that you can kind of slide your way through because, again, you really need to know what you're doing. And again, if you deal with groceries, there is the dry side of it and there's the produce side of it, and I like working in both sides of it. Now, one year, as I was working in the store, again, I was working all over the store, I was tasked to work solely in the grocery side of things. And at that time, there was a female manager, black female manager, who was in charge of the grocery section of the store I worked in. And they knew I was good in the grocery section, and in fact, they pulled me a lot of times from one task, like I'd be scanning the store for outs or in stocks or whatever they wanted me to do, and they would come and grab my device out of my hand and say, no, you need to go over to the grocery section and take care of that. You need to go and do this right now. Because of how good I was, again, I was pulled into the grocery section a lot. And I was, again, pulled off of other tasks in the store a lot. So again, 1 month, the manager of the grocery section, she pulls me into the office and she tells me that we need you to kind of be in there full time. And she gives me a spiel about you need to own it. You need to do what you need to do to make it work, to make it pop, so to speak. And basically what she was doing, she was putting me into a sandbox, which I really didn't realize it, but I realized it at the end of what I'm going to discuss with you, my brothers, that's what she did. She was actually putting me into a sandbox where she could control it and where she could eventually destroy it. Now, to give you some references, sandbox is basically a methodology where a woman puts you into an area or puts you into a confinement type of space where she makes you think that you are in control, but in actuality, she is in control of it. And as long as you stay within the confines of your sandbox, you are okay. You can do whatever you want to do. The moment you exceed the confines of your sandbox, she will punish you and she will destroy your sandbox and take away your rights and privileges along with it. Now, getting back to what happened to me, I began to work solely in the grocery section of the store. And my primary task was to handle the produce sections of it because that was a priority. And again, they knew, the management of the store, and particularly this female manager, knew I was quite good with it. And there was another guy that was there, and he was quite good with it. So we together handled that section, and we ran it pretty much the way we needed to run it to get things to function. Well, at the time, my brothers, when I was put solely into the grocery section and in the produce section, this was at the time when the organic craze was going on. And so right now, if you go into a grocery store, you'll see sections where there's organic produce versus ordinary produce. And you'll notice that the organic produce is supposed to be non-GMO. There's no cross seeding when something like corn is grown. It is grown from non-GMO types of seeds, and therefore there's no kind of scientific thing going on with it, like DNA crossing or whatever they do with GMO foods these days. But organic food is supposed to be pure grown food, or food that is derived from pure grown sources, not GMO sources. So again, this was at the midst of that craze, and my store started to get into it, but there was no organization in terms of how they would get the organic produce out onto the floor. So for instance, for a few months while I was in the section, there was a huge area that had a big sign, about a 3 or 4 foot sign over it, that said organic. But yet on the table where the section was, there was one lone spaghetti box, which was organic. And so basically what was happening, the organic produce was sitting in the produce cooler and was not being put out on the floor. There was no organization to it. And basically, again, upon my manager's consent, which I thought she really consented to what I was going to do, I began a plan to get this produce out on the floor and get it sold. Because my reasoning was that why should it stay in the back room and basically melt down into goo instead of putting it out on the floor and let customers buy it. And so I got together with the other guy that was working in the produce section, and he said, yes, let's go ahead and do it. And we were kind of freewheeling. He was like me, in a sandbox, and what happened to me also happened to him. But nevertheless, I began a project of getting the organic produce out onto the floor and ultimately into the hands of customers. Because again, my feeling about it was you can't sell it, or it's not able to make money unless a customer can have access to it and thus buy it. So I began this project and got it completed. And I would say it was completed about September of that year. And I had all the produce, the organic produce, in one section. It was fully organized, and it was clearly organized as to what was organic versus non-organic produce. Had it all set up, had all the things out on the floor, and plus I had also distributed some items which were not getting sold properly to places where they could be sold properly. So I did all of this, and I noticed immediately within the time frame that I did that, it was like, again, September of that year. I finished the project maybe about the beginning of September, and by the end of September, the traffic had really picked up in the produce section. And the produce section, which had the organic items in it, really picked up in terms of sales. And so this went on, and I kept it that way up until December of that year. And it was in December of the year I noticed that some managers from a nearby grocery store that was about a half a block away from us started coming into the store, and they were looking around specifically in the produce section, and they were looking at the section where I had set up all the items for the organic produce. And they were just hovering around, and I would notice that it was like, again, in December, like 1 week, a female, I believe she was a manager of the store, she would show up, and she would just come by and look around and everything. And then the next week she would show up again and look around. And week again, she showed up, and this time I think she was with a district manager for the grocery chain that she worked for. And so they would look around, and then she showed up the next week, which was close to the end of December. And I didn't really think about it until I went over on New Year's Day to the grocery store where the two managers had come from. And I noticed that they were doing a lot of changes in their produce section, and their changes were exactly like the changes I had made in my store. And I was kind of shocked at that, and I really realized then that they were observing what I was doing, those changes that I made, and they were checking every week to see how it was going. And at the end of that time, they made the decision to make the changes in their store. And I don't know if those changes were made district-wide in their stores, but I kind of suspect that they were. So that happened to me. And about 2 weeks into January, I noticed that the manager who was over me, again, she's a female, came to the produce section, and she was just looking around. She had a weird look on her face, and she seemed to be kind of perplexed and kind of angry. And then the next thing I knew, about a few days later, a guy was pulled into, one of the workers was pulled into the produce section, and he told me that he was instructed to take down everything that I had done. And basically that started, again, the process by which my stand box was destroyed. From that point on, I was punished, so to speak. I was pulled out of the grocery section. The guy that was working with me, who I worked with, basically, he eventually was also punished to the extent that he quit, went out to the West Coast, so to speak. And I was, again, punished. I was subjected to all sorts of things, like them bringing in, or this female manager bringing in women who were incompetent to kind of lord over me and tell me, you know, that I was dumb and I didn't know what I was doing, but yet their incompetence would show. For instance, I caught one of these women washing out a container which was used for dairy products in a bathroom. And that is a big no-no, health no-no. You could, for instance, have a foodborne illness start off from doing something like that. And plus, there were wash stations in that store where you could wash out containers in safety without having to go in a bathroom and wash out a container like that. So she clearly was incompetent. And then clearly, again, that's ignorance, because you do not do those things, particularly when you are selling food to customers, because that's the way a foodborne illness can be spread. You could have a condition where, like, a stomach virus gets spread throughout the store and throughout your customer base. And so when I alerted the female manager that this was taking place, I got punished. So again, my brothers, my sandbox was destroyed. Any type of criticism, any type of ideas I had, they were destroyed. All those things happened to me. And they happened because basically I made that black manager look bad. I suspect that what happened was that she found out that the store, the grocery store that was nearby us, had made those changes based upon what I had done. And because those changes did not emanate from her, but they emanated from me, that made her look bad. And I suspect also that she was probably criticized by our store management for allowing something like that to happen. I don't know, but I know that the store next to us, the grocery store next to us, made those major changes because of what I was doing. And my reward was not, you did a great job, it was punishment. And my brothers, getting back to the other guy that was working in that section with me, he was also punished. He was also put down. He was also made to work in other sections. He was also punished in many, many ways, to the extent that he got tired of it and he left. And I will say that also, if that manager had left us alone and fully supported us, the growth of that section would have been phenomenal. My brothers, in the years since this all happened to me, I visited the store that I was working in a few times. And every time that I visit there, I check out the grocery section. And it is about the same way as when I left it. And this is because they cannot find anybody that can truly do it like we did, like that guy and I did. And they are constantly having trouble with it. And I also get the ask, can you come back? We kind of need you back. You were really good with what you did. But my response is no. My brothers, I came away from the whole experience with several realizations. Number one, that it's truly impossible to please women. But nevertheless, it is to their detriment, not mine. My brothers, had that woman, that black manager, allowed us to do what we need to do and fully supported us, the grocery section would not be in the state that it is still currently in. It was her detriment, because I found out later that she was moved out of that arena, so to speak, and she was moved into another section of the store because of her mismanagement. And I also discovered that when this was going on, when she was doing what she was doing, that she was not the woman who I thought that she was. When I originally started working for that store, for that particular corporation, I thought she was a highly esteemed woman. But when I left, she was nothing more than a shill. And shills, my brothers, basically have no talent or resources of their own. They basically front and make the people under them suffer in so many ways. But again, I found that it is truly impossible to please women. But nevertheless, it is to their detriment, not mine. Number two, when womanists tell men to go away and men do so, like it or not, when men walk away, the whole package goes with them. And so what I'm getting at, my brothers, is basically this. The expertise, the know-how, the talent, the drive, the working long hours, all those things, when I got told to go away, all that went with me. So again, you had situations where incompetent people were put in that area and they failed. There was like maybe at least 4 to 5 incompetent people put in that area and they all failed. And so when the other guy left, that talent, that know-how, that drive, that inspiration, all that went with him. And likewise for me, the whole package went with me. And it is again to the detriment of the womanists who do these things to men. Number 3, womanists are actually the ones who are damning themselves because they are the ones who cause the men to slam the door shut in their faces. So, my brothers, when it comes to me coming back to that, or them knocking on my door, so to speak, these womanists knocking on my door to come back to a situation where I know that they will not do right by me, that door gets slammed shut in their face. And in many cases, and in most cases, I will not even answer the door, so to speak. I have blocked people. I have told them not to talk to me no more. I have done all those types of things because, again, that is my way of keeping them out of my life and keeping them from wasting my time. Number 4, by inaction or offering up regurgitation of the issues only heightens the hypocrisy. So, my brothers, when this all happened to me, there were plenty of women, managers, employees, who said, just what this manager is doing is wrong, and I don't understand it. Yes, she's wrong. But there was no action in terms of stopping her from doing what she was doing. There was no support on my side or on the other guy's side to keep us from being torn down in that manner. And so this gets me to the types of situations that we face on a day-to-day basis, my brothers, where there's inaction on the part of New Alts when these things are being done to us. And when it gets to a critical mass situation where men are walking away en masse, these New Alts, solely because they cannot get men to come back to them, are the ones who are saying that yes, they knew that womanism was wrong all along, but yet they did nothing about it. And furthermore, they get into this thing which I really despise, and that is the regurgitation of the issues that we all are aware of. And so basically we have those ones who are telling us that men are suffering, men are doing this because of that, men are being put down by womanism, all these types of things. But these are a regurgitation of the issues and are therefore, in my opinion, hypocrisy. And it is also why when I encounter New Alts, I have a hard take on them. I really have trouble believing what they're saying. Because, again, if they saw these things happening and they knew it was wrong, why did you not take any action? My brothers, again, in terms of how women think about a man like me, I am in the right position in terms of that pendulum swing. Damned, because I will not come back to women. Nevertheless, as a MGTOW, my only concern is taking care of myself in every way possible by putting myself first in every way possible. This is the MGTOW Infinium, and this has been an Infinium Free Talk. My MGTOW brothers, as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay on the MGTOW path, and remember, MGTOW is the liberation of men's minds. MGTOW cannot and will not be stopped.